Mike, before the break, we were talking about this sort of generational divide, what younger generations want from apps and website versus older generations. What features are the ones that bring the most satisfaction versus dissatisfaction?
Yeah, so I think across all users, there's some commonality here. So one is just making the experience as frictionless as possible, right? So easy to log in, easy to navigate and find the content that you're really looking for critically, and ensuring that the responsiveness and the speed of the experience is there. So those are some of the most critical aspects of the experience. In terms of some specific features, especially when we look at mobile apps, things like being able to easily set up and manage alerts and stock screeners. Those are some of the things that we see having really high impact on satisfaction, because those are things where the mobile app specifically has some inherent advantages over a laptop, in that, as you said earlier, we're sort of carrying these things around with us all the time.
Okay. Um, I have this saying, follow the money, right? And so I'm a slight skeptic. And what I mean by that, Mike, is okay, younger generations like apps, and I can see there is an argument to invest a lot in that. There aren't necessarily the ones I think that have the wealth. It's typically the baby boomers who have the bulk of it. Is that a valid argument? Are you seeing something different?
No, I mean, it's absolutely true. But as you know, we have this great wealth transfer, right, which is gets a lot of attention. Which across North America, something like $30 trillion is going to change hands generationally over the coming decade and beyond. And I think the thing that firms need to be thinking about is the long term future, right? Because if you wait until Gen Y inherits those assets or becomes high net worth, it's going to be much more difficult to attract them, because by that point they may have developed a strong, loyalty or brand affinity to another provider. So I do think it's really incumbent on brands to engage with the younger demographics and really to attract them now, and then evolve the services they provide over time as they grow wealthier and their wealth management needs become more complex.
Yeah, makes sense. The other thing that stood out for me, Mike, is that a lot of Canadian investors aren't using the wealth mobile apps. It was something like 55% full service. So those that work with an advisor, and about 40% of the self directed investors say they actually haven't had any mobile interactions in the past 12 months. Why do you think that is? And maybe how does that compare to the US?
Yeah, it's interesting because we see that the adoption rates are significantly lower in Canada than they are in the U.S. for wealth apps. I don't think that has anything to do with consumer preferences being different. A third-party survey we saw earlier this year estimated that the average Canadian consumer now spends on average 4.4 hours per day on their mobile phone on apps, which is actually a little bit more than Americans do. So I don't think it's about consumer preferences being different. It's more about, I think US firms as a whole are a little bit more mature in terms of how their digital experience that they're delivering, how that's evolved in recent years. And Canadian firms, I think to some degree, are playing catch up. But it is really important, as we said, that I think brands really do think about the digital experience as a differentiator and not just a check the box exercise that, okay, we need a mobile app, so let's put one out there. It's really an opportunity to differentiate your experience and to drive greater engagement with your clients.
Okay. Another minute before the next break. How important is data privacy, and how does that play into maybe some of the resistance?
Yeah, it's important. I mean, we see that a significant number of Canadian investors are concerned about the security of their data, whether it's through apps or whether it's through websites. And this is something actually that we didn't see a big demographic divide on. So it's a concern that exists among both younger and older investors. And I think it's important for firms not only to ensure that they have the appropriate security for data, but that they're effectively communicating that to their clients and providing aspects of the experience that reassure and provide confidence in investors that their data is in fact secure, whether they're interacting through a mobile phone or whether they're using their website.